Have you ever checked your email and watched your entire life collapse in 5 sentences? I did. Standing in a Chicago hotel room preparing for the biggest presentation of my career. I'm done. I want a divorce. I've taken my share from our joint account. Good luck. 8 years of marriage ended with the cold efficiency of canceling a subscription. When I returned home 3 days later, my key no longer worked in the lock of the house I paid for. Through the living room window, I could see a younger woman arranging her things on my shelves, wearing my slippers, sleeping in my bed. $42,000 gone from our savings. My clothes in trash bags on the porch. My husband smirking as neighbors watched my humiliation. What he didn't know? I didn't just lose everything that day. I gained something far more valuable. Clarity. And when I replied with just one word, understood, I wasn't surrendering. I was declaring war. He thought he'd walked away with everything, but some victories are Pyrrhic, and some defeats are merely strategic retreats. By the time Ethan realized what I had set in motion, it was already too late. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted with your whole heart, this story is for you. Subscribe now and join me on this journey of heartbreak, justice, and the sweetest revenge served ice cold. My hands shook as I stood in that Chicago hotel room, staring at my phone. The email glowed on the screen, each word slicing deeper than the last. I'm done. I want a divorce. I've taken my share from our joint account. Good luck. 8 years of marriage, gone in 5 sentences. Not a call, not a face-to-face, just an email, cold and final, like unsubscribing from a newsletter. I opened our bank app, heart pounding. My stomach dropped. $42,000, half our savings, vanished. I sank onto the bed, nausea twisting my gut. How could Ethan do this? How could he plan this? I'm 35, a marketing executive who fought tooth and nail to climb the corporate ladder. I'm the one who stayed up late perfecting pitches, who brought home the steady paycheck, who believed in us. Ethan? He was my artist, my dreamer. A freelance graphic designer with a smile that could light up a room. We met at a friend's gallery opening 9 years ago. He talked about color theory like it was poetry, and I was hooked. We built a life together, a cozy suburban house with a garden I tended every weekend, roses and lavender blooming under my care. I thought we were a team, but teams don't crumble like this. Looking back, I see the cracks. The love notes stopped years ago. His warm hugs turned to curt nods. My promotions, my long hours, they fueled his resentment. He'd mutter about my corporate cage while his freelance gigs dried up. I kept pouring love into our marriage, blind to how it was wilting. I thought we were just in a rough patch. I thought we'd fix it. That business trip was supposed to be a turning point, a major client pitch in Chicago, the kind that could land me a promotion and secure our future. I was thrilled, packing my suitcase with dreams of what this could mean. A bigger house, maybe kids, a chance to ease the strain between us. Ethan barely looked up from his laptop when I told him. Have fun, he said, voice flat. I brushed it off, too excited to dwell on his coldness. I didn't know he was waiting for me to leave, plotting to dismantle our life the second my plane took off. 3 days later, I came home, my key useless in the lock. Through the living room window, I saw her, a younger woman, maybe 25, arranging books on my shelves, wearing my slippers. My clothes sat in trash bags on the porch, damp from the morning dew. Neighbors peeked through curtains as Ethan stood in the doorway, arms crossed, a smug glint in his eyes. You got my email, he said. No apology, no explanation, just victory in his voice. I was shaking. Not from fear, but from a clarity so sharp it cut through the fog of betrayal. Ethan thought he'd won. He thought he'd taken everything, our savings, our home, my dignity. But he didn't know me, not really. I'd spent years building campaigns, outsmarting competitors, turning losses into wins. If he thought I'd crumble, he was about to learn how wrong he was. That night, in a cheap motel room, I typed one word in reply to his email. Understood. It wasn't defeat. It was the first move in a game he didn't even know we were playing. Ethan had his moment of triumph, but I was already planning. He'd taken $42,000 in our house, but I had something he'd never understand: resilience. And I was going to use it to take back what was mine. Have you ever been underestimated or dismissed despite knowing your true worth? Share your experience in the comments below. Your stories fuel this community, and I can't wait to read them. The taxi ride from the airport was a blur, my mind racing with how I'd confront Ethan. I rehearsed the words: calm, sharp, demanding answers. Why the email? Why the money? Why now? My suitcase rattled in the trunk as the driver turned onto my street. Our house came into view, the roses I'd planted glowing in the dusk. I paid the fare, dragged my bag to the porch, and slid my key into the lock. It didn't turn. I tried again, harder. Nothing. My heart thudded as I peered through the living room window. A blonde woman, young, maybe 25, was arranging books on my shelves, humming, wearing my slippers. Mrs. Davis, our neighbor, watched from her porch, her face heavy with pity. "Honey," she said, voice low, "there's been a young woman coming and going since yesterday. Blonde, laughing, carrying boxes from some red sports car." I wanted to sink into the ground, but I just nodded, my throat tight. I banged on the door, each knock louder, until Ethan appeared. His face was blank, eyes cold. "You got my email," he said, tossing a trash bag at my feet. "Your stuff." I tore it open: old sweaters, mismatched socks, a half-used bottle of shampoo. No wedding album, no photo frames, no letters we'd written each other, not even the pearl earrings my grandmother left me. Just things he didn't want his new girlfriend touching. Neighbors' curtains twitched as I stood there, exposed, my life reduced to garbage on the lawn. "Ethan, we need to talk," I said, voice shaking. He shrugged. "Nothing to say." Then he shut the door. I wanted to scream, to break the windows, but I just grabbed the bag and walked to my car, their eyes burning into my back. I drove to Megan's house, my best friend since college. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles whitened. When I told her what happened, her face hardened. "That coward," she spat, pulling me into a hug. I couldn't feel it. I was numb, like my body was moving, but I wasn't in it. She set me up in her guest room, a small space with a twin bed and a quilt her mom made. That night, I didn't sleep. My mind replayed the email, the locked door, that woman's laugh. Who was she? How long had this been happening? The next morning, over coffee, Megan hesitated before speaking. "People saw things," she said. "They didn't want to hurt you." She told me about Kayla, the blonde, a barista Ethan met at his favorite coffee shop. Their affair had been going on for nearly a year. Friends had overheard him at parties, calling me controlling, saying I emasculated him with my success. I felt sick. Then I checked our credit card statements on my laptop. Charges I'd ignored: $600 for jewelry, $200 dinners at the Italian place where we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary. I thought those were business expenses. They were gifts and dates for her. The divorce papers arrived by email that afternoon. Ethan's terms were brutal. He kept the house, the car, most of our savings. I called a lawyer, my voice hollow. She reviewed the documents and sighed. "His name's alone on the deed," she said. "You paid the mortgage, but he restructured the title last year. The joint account? Legally, he could take it all. He's been planning this for months, maybe longer." I stared at her, the room tilting. Every step, every withdrawal, every signature had been calculated while I was building our future. I broke down that evening, sobbing on Megan's couch. 8 years, gone. My home, my savings, my trust, stolen. But at 3:17 a.m., something shifted. I was in the guest bed, staring at the ceiling when the tears stopped. My hands steadied. A cold, clear resolve settled in my chest. Ethan thought he'd erased me, but he'd misjudged who I was. I wasn't just a wife or a paycheck. I was a woman who'd outmaneuvered corporate sharks, who'd turned failing campaigns into triumphs. If he wanted war, I'd give him one he'd never forget. The moment when grief turns to resolve is powerful. Have you felt that shift when tears give way to determination? If you're finding value in this story, hit subscribe to support our channel and share your moment of transformation in the comments. I sat across from a divorce attorney, Ms. Carter, in her sleek downtown office, her sharp eyes scanning the papers I'd brought. A colleague had sworn she was ruthless, and I needed ruthless. I told her about Ethan's email, the $42,000 he took, the house he claimed. Her pen tapped the desk as I mentioned my Chicago trip and the promotion I'd been ascending. So he doesn't know about the equity package or the signing bonus? She asked. I shook my head. Ethan had no clue. Her smile widened. And he's made no claim on those yet? I nodded, confused. She leaned forward. Good. He's exposed. The promotion I'd secured in Chicago wasn't just a title bump. It came with stock options, a six-figure signing bonus, and a relocation package, none of which Ethan knew about. He'd also never touched the $80,000 inheritance from my grandfather, tucked away in an account I'd kept private. Then there was the kicker. Ethan had helped with designs for my company's campaigns, but I'd registered the intellectual property under my name. He thought he'd cleaned me out, but he'd missed the real assets, the ones that dwarfed what he stole. Back at Megan's, I stared at my laptop, Ethan's email still open. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to rage, to demand my house back, to curse him and Kayla. Instead, I typed one word. Understood. I hit send and leaned back. Let him think I was shattered, too weak to fight. The best revenge starts when your enemy underestimates you. Ethan was gloating, probably laughing with Kayla in my kitchen. He didn't see me as a threat anymore. That was his first mistake. I started rebuilding quietly. I called mutual friends Ethan had turned against me, asking gentle questions. Some were cold, but others softened, admitting they'd heard Ethan badmouth me for months. One, Greg, said Ethan had lied about me, controlling our finances. I tracked down Ethan's old business partner, Tom, who'd cut ties after Ethan ghosted him on a project. Tom's anger was fresh. He called Ethan a leech who'd take credit for others' work. Even Ethan's cousin Lila reached out. She'd always disliked his charm, calling it fake. He's done this before, she said. You're not the first. Their stories painted a pattern. Ethan used people, then discarded them. I wasn't building a mob. I was gathering voices who'd tell the truth when the time came. At work, I pushed through the pain. My boss, impressed by my focus during the Chicago pitch, called me into his office. Most people would have cracked under your circumstances, he said, sliding the promotion contract across his desk. That strength is why we want you leading the new division. I signed the papers, securing the stock options and bonus. My mentor Diane pulled me aside later. You're tougher than you look, she said, squeezing my arm. Use that. Their trust steadied me, reminding me who I was outside Ethan's betrayal. I started therapy, not to wallow but to rebuild. My therapist, Dr. Lee, didn't push forgiveness. Your anger is real, she said, but it's also fuel. Direct it. Don't let it burn you. She helped me untangle my worth from the marriage. I wasn't just Ethan's wife or his victim. I was the woman who'd landed multi-million-dollar clients, who'd turned failing projects into wins. Session by session, I learned to channel my hurt into focus. My grief was still there, but it wasn't a weight. It was a tool. Each move I made was deliberate, like setting up a chessboard. Ethan thought he'd checkmated me, but I was still in the game, positioning my pieces while he celebrated too early. He'd learn soon enough. You don't betray someone like me and walk away clean. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from appearing at your weakest. Have you ever had to strategically conceal your true intentions to protect yourself? The community here understands that survival sometimes requires strategy. Share your experience below. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of resilience against betrayal. Ms. Carter moved fast. At 8:59 a.m., she filed an emergency injunction to freeze Ethan's access to our remaining accounts. By 9:15, his phone would have lit up with alerts. By noon, the bank locked him out. Then came the real blow. Ethan's side hustle designs for my company's clients? They were registered under my name. He thought he owned them. He was wrong. Ms. Carter submitted evidence of credit card fraud. Those $600 necklaces and fancy dinners for Kayla charged to our joint account. Ethan's freedom to spend was over, and his confidence was about to crack. My Chicago promotion had unlocked an equity package. Stock options worth 3 times the $42,000 he'd stolen. I activated it quietly, transferring the funds to a new account he'd never touch. My grandfather's $80,000 inheritance hidden from Ethan became the down payment for a new house. A sleek, modern place with a backyard perfect for my roses. I dug through old bank records, proving I'd paid 80% of our mortgage and household bills for years. Ethan's contribution was pocket change. Those documents were now in Ms. Carter's hands, ready to bury him. Ethan's clients got a wake-up call next. I sent polite emails with proof he'd breached contracts, using my company's copyrighted materials without permission. His old partner Tom backed me up, sharing how Ethan had stiffed him on payments. Another designer came forward, saying Ethan had passed off her work as his. I didn't need to tear him down. I just stopped shielding him. His reputation crumbled as the truth spread. Kayla's turn came subtly. I mailed her a plain manila envelope, no return address. Inside were bank statements showing Ethan's pattern, living off women's money then leaving them broke. Text messages from his exes all saying the same thing. He'd charmed them, used them, discarded them. I didn't sign it. I didn't need to. Kayla deserved to know who she was sleeping next to. 2 days later, a neighbor texted me. Kayla's red sports car peeled out of my driveway at midnight, never to return. The house was the final piece. Ethan thought his name on the deed made it his. Wrong again. Ms. Carter proved my mortgage payments gave me a massive equity claim. The down payment? My bonus from 3 years ago, not his. A court order demanded he account for every item he'd thrown out or given to Kayla. My grandmother's earrings, our wedding album, all of it. The certified letter hit his mailbox on a Tuesday. The court's online portal showed he read it at 10:42 p.m., right when Kayla's car was spotted leaving for good. I didn't need to see his face to know he was sweating. While Ethan scrambled, I built my new life. I closed on my house, a 2-story with big windows and a garden that caught the morning sun. I planted cherry trees, their roots sinking deep into soil I owned. New friends, people who'd heard my story and stayed, came over for coffee, their laughter filling rooms Ethan would never see. My therapist's words echoed. My pain was fuel, and I'd used it to power something unbreakable. Justice wasn't loud. It wasn't screaming or gloating. It was the quiet click of a lock on my front door, the soft bloom of cherries in my yard, the steady growth of a bank account Ethan couldn't touch. I didn't destroy him. I reclaimed me. Justice doesn't always look like we expect. Sometimes it's not a thunderclap, but a quiet rebuilding that honors our worth. What does justice look like in your story? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if this resonates with you, subscribe to join our community of survivors becoming thrivers. Ethan's world unraveled faster than he could have imagined. His clients dropped him after the copyright mess, leaving his freelance gigs in tatters. Kayla was gone, her sports car never seen again after she opened that envelope. Mutual friends, once swayed by his charm, stopped answering his calls. I heard he was crashing on couches, moving from one acquaintance's spare room to another. His easy smile didn't work when he needed more than a night's stay. He'd burned every bridge for a quick win, and now he was alone, stranded by his own choices. Meanwhile, I was thriving. My promotion put me in charge of a new division, my salary doubling. My house was a haven, with cherry trees blooming in the backyard and a porch where I sipped coffee in peace. I launched a side business, a marketing consultancy Ethan had mocked as a pipe dream. It now employed 7 people, and the kitchen table where I signed contracts was surrounded by colleagues who cheered my wins. No resentment in sight. Every step forward felt like a brick in a foundation he'd never touch. 2 years later, an email from Ethan popped into my inbox. Subject: I'm sorry. He called, leaving me the biggest mistake of his life. Said he was struggling, said he missed us. His words were desperate, almost rehearsed, like he'd practiced them in a mirror. I read it once, then leaned back in my chair. No anger stirred, no satisfaction either. It was like reading a stranger's story. His plea couldn't touch the life I'd built. He had no power over me anymore. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My therapist's advice rang true. Silence can be louder than words. I marked the email as read and closed my laptop. Closure wasn't in his apology. It was in the years I'd spent rebuilding, in the confidence I'd earned, in the boundaries I'd set. Ethan's message was just noise, irrelevant to the quiet strength I'd found. Then came James. We met at a gardening expo, bonding over soil pH and pruning techniques. He didn't just admire my roses. He asked about their roots, their seasons, their care. His curiosity wasn't performative. It was real. We took things slow, building trust over coffee dates and long walks. With him, I didn't shrink to fit. I could be my full self, ambitious, scarred, hopeful, and he matched me, step for step. Love with James wasn't a sacrifice. It was a partnership. Looking back, I don't hate Ethan. I regret letting my love for him blur the warning signs, his bitterness, his excuses, his slow withdrawal. Now I see people clearly, red flags and all. My self-worth isn't tied to anyone's approval. I've set boundaries that won't budge, and I guard my peace like the garden I tend. That's the gift betrayal gave me. A sharper lens, a stronger core. Ethan's email was meant to break me, but it set me free. Losing my marriage, my savings, my home, it stripped away what I didn't need and showed me what I could build. The ending I dreaded was the start I never saw coming. Now, I'm not just surviving, I'm whole. Every ending contains the seeds of a new beginning. What unexpected gifts have you found in your moments of greatest challenge? I'd love to hear your stories of transformation in the comments below. If this journey resonated with you, please subscribe and share. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.